What to do if you have a large client at risk for bankruptcy. Find out what can be done if your small business has put too much faith on a single large client, which is now in financial straits and risks filing for bankruptcy soon. Depending on the reorganization process ultimately chosen by the court or the company itself, Chapter 11 or 13, for example, your business might receive no monies on the accounts receivable. But there are still tactics you can use to recover all your money or limit the loss incurred on the allowance for a potentially doubtful account. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are talking today about a very important item. But before I do so, how are you doing? Hope you're doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. What do you do if you have a large client at risk for bankruptcy? Number one, you want to manage your accounts receivable. Because you have to understand, by the time a major company is struggling with their cash, it's too late. So what you want to do is that you want to really manage accounts receivable. You want to send weekly invoices and you want to follow up for payments regularly, right? You're not trying to really get some crunch time with the teetering company here. You want to play the startup card. What is that? What you have to talk to the large company. You have to make them believe that you really need the cash. In other words, you can say something like, we actually need this money to stay in business. You need to play that startup card very well, and you want to stay on top of your accounts receivable. All right, don't give credit terms over 15 days or 30 days or 45 days. No, go for the short term. I'm talking the real short term. 10 days, 15 days, 2 weeks maximum. Number two, get your account settled ASAP. The thing here is that instead of waiting around for the inevitable to happen, you want to be very proactive and you want to push the large company to the point of hiring a collections agency to get it for us, right? So if you're trying to get your money, you want to communicate very clearly with the client, with a large client which is at risk for bankruptcy, that you're willing to go the distance to get your cash, right? So one thing that's very important here is that communication. You want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to make sure that your payment, the payment to your company, stays on top of their priorities. And if need be, yes, you can threaten a little bit by hiring a collections agency. They know you mean business. The third thing you want to do is you want to cultivate bonds with the right people within the company. Now, a lot of people are very scared about bankruptcy. A lot of small business owners, or big business owners for that matter, are scared about bankruptcy. Now, the thing you have to understand is that even in a bankruptcy, and we see this every day on TV, you have a company filing for bankruptcy and they somehow still have money to pay millions of dollars in salary to the CEO or the CFO or the executives in general. Where is that money coming from? The thing here is that from a legal standpoint, bankruptcy is a strategic move. We have an entire show committed to explaining the corporate bankruptcy. So I'm not going into details here, but my point here is that simply because a company is telling you, hey, we're filing for bankruptcy or we might file for bankruptcy, that doesn't mean they don't have money. It just means that when you compare the magnitude of their debt versus the cash they have in the bank account, the debt is just too much. However, there is still cash. Now, somebody has to get paid for that cash with that cash, right? And you want to make sure you are among the people or the companies that are getting paid. And there are a lot of ways you can do this. And earlier I was talking to you about using the threat, threatening them, telling them you might hire a collections agency or even hire an attorney. But you can do things smoothly. How do you do that? Cultivate relationships with the right people. Talk to the CEO. Talk to the members of the executive team, or even better, have a contact in accounting, have a contact in accounts receivable. Well, in this case, it will be accounts payable. So in the company, you want to talk to someone who works in that department, because they're the one who are actually will be pushing for your payments, for your company's payment, right? So you want to call them, you want to talk openly to them about the risk and make sure that they know what's at stake for your organization, right? Because if you're a small business, chances are, and you pin all your all your cards on one large client, which is now at risk for bankruptcy, you might actually file for bankruptcy too, right? And nobody wants that. Number 4, actively market yourself. It is very important, whether you have a client that might file for bankruptcy or not, that you continually market and seek replacement for clients that are lethargic. You want to constantly look for new clients. If you do this, if you are playing offense as opposed to defense, you'll be better off. You will be better off. So you want to seek new clients so that if that client goes down, you probably have another client. Remember, folks, in business as in life, you're going to have lethargic people. You're going to have dynamic people. You're going to have lethargic clients or dynamic clients. And a dynamic client can become lethargic and vice versa. So if you have a lethargic client right now who is in financial straits, you want to quickly replace that client. You want to start looking for ways to reduce cost as well. And you want to move into a lean spending plan to provide more cash flow if you have to go without that client. I'll be right back. But after this, don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're also having a conversation today around what to do if you have a large client at risk for bankruptcy. I love this topic. Now, if you enjoy the content so far and you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so we can push on to you great content like this one every single day, rain or shine. And we do this twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day. It really depends on how lazy or productive we are. So comment below, let us know your experience about bankruptcy in the corporate world, in the business world. Like this content and share. Number 5, start communicating now. You want to talk to the clients before the risk of bankruptcy becomes filing for bankruptcy, right? You want to build a rapport and you want to speak to the client often. It's very important that you remember that when a person or company files for bankruptcy, they often have many people to pay. And you want to be on top of that list. You want to be on top of the priority list, because if you let things go too far and the court has to decide who should be paid, chances are you might not be in that list, depending upon the security level of your credit. And accounts receivable, normal business credit, is not considered very high in the security level. So if you are assertive and you make yourself seen, the client will remember you, which in turn reduces the chances of you getting left out when it's time for them to pay. Also, conduct credit checks. Now, a lot of folks think they're so enticed by the allure of money. So when they think about a large company, they're just thinking that's free cash. We're not doing any credit check. No, you constantly have to monitor. You have to check the credit worthiness of every client, be it big or small. And once you establish that relationship on a quarterly basis or every 6 months, you want to continue to monitor the credit worthiness of your most important clients. I personally believe that if we use the Pareto principle, which says 80% of your business will come for 20% of your clientele, I would say you constantly, by constantly I mean every 3 months or every 6 months, want to monitor the credit worthiness, the credit score, the credit background, the whatever history, whatever's going on. You want to monitor the credit worthiness of the companies, the clients that constitute that 20%, because that's where your money is coming from. That's what's putting food on the table. This is what's paying your employees, your vendors, and everything. That's the lifeblood. Those 20% are the lifeblood of your business. So you want to constantly monitor them. So conduct credit checks. You want to drop a contract that specifies that if accounts are 90 days overdue, you can directly take them to court. Right? Number 7, you want to diversify early. Now, I always believe that, of course, earlier I said 20% of your clients will account for 80% of your revenue. That's pretty cool. But you need to diversify. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that those 20% are not constituted by only 1 or 2 clients or a few clients within the same industry. Because God forbid something happens, you are on the hook. You can't get that money back. You'll be exposed to an entire industry. So you want to diversify early. You want to, you don't let a single client take over. If you're too reliant on a big client, they don't have to go bankrupt to put your business at risk. Because I've been talking in this show about bankruptcy, but chances are, if there is a change of direction or personnel, this could be enough to spell disaster too. Remember, if you have a new CEO, they're coming with their people. They have their own agenda, their own vision, and probably their own coterie of vendors and suppliers. And you might not be one of those because you haven't established the relationship. So just in general, diversification in business is a great strategy. It's a great model. Next thing I want you to do is to update your portfolio. So what you want to do here is that you are trying to make sure that if you realize that a large client of yours is at risk for bankruptcy, you want to update your portfolio. You want to basically maybe take them out of your portfolio, of your active portfolio, or you want to maybe reduce your reliance on them. What does that mean? That updating your portfolio means that you are reducing the allocation of resources to that particular client. You are if you had 10 salespeople talking to the company, now you want to reduce it to 1 salesperson or 2 salesperson. You want to, if you had daily calls or weekly calls with that clients, you want to reduce it to once a month or once every 2 months or once every 2 weeks, right? So you want to update your portfolio in the sense that you need to preserve and you want to preserve any cash, any resources you have at the moment. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're also having a conversation around what to do if you have a large client at risk for bankruptcy. Next, I want you to keep records of everything. Folks, this is important. If your small business wants to survive, you need to keep a paper trail of all business you conduct through your company with clients. Especially if a larger client is at risk for bankruptcy, one of the best things you can do is have records of all transactions so you're able to protect yourself in the long run. Also, you want to think about establishing a plan, right? A plan just means that you are trying to have a vision and you are trying to have a strategy, how to survive. If things go south, what is plan B? Right? You got to have plan A, plan B, plan C. You want to consider your options and you want to develop, most importantly, a feasible plan in case that they file for bankruptcy. Continue to nurture your sales and marketing funnels. Now, the thing here is that you want to constantly boost your marketing. You want to constantly boost your sales machine. You want to always prospect and market so that the pipeline is always full. If you have a full pipeline, you wouldn't have to rely on one particular client. So you wouldn't have to go through this feast and famine cycle of landing a big client that many small businesses have to go through every single day, every single week, every single month, and every single year. The strategy here should be that you are protecting yourself, you're safeguarding the operations of your business by diversifying, by having a full pipeline, and by constantly monitoring your portfolio. One thing that you want to do, and this is the last part here, you want to alter your payment terms. Let's say, for instance, that you just got word that a big client of yours, a client with whom you have $1 million worth of accounts receivable, might file for bankruptcy. Well, listen, you used to give their clients net 45 days, so the invoice, the terms on the invoice said net 45 days, meaning you are allowing them to pay within 45 days after the goods have been delivered. Now you can alter the payment terms. Now you can say, listen, I'm bringing this down to 15 or 20. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to tell them, listen, I'm kind of scared that you guys might file for bankruptcy very soon, so I'm trying to cover my back. No, you're not explaining to them. You can, if they insist, just say, listen, we have revised our vision, our strategy, and we're altering payment terms across the board or for certain clients because we need the money, we need the cash, right? So it's not a big deal based on the business, particularly if this is service based. You want to make the switch to a pay upfront model to ensure that any services rendered after the concern of financial unrest have been communicated and they are compensated for. What I'm trying to say here is that you can either reduce the credit terms or you can request upfront payments. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You're trying to cover your back. You're trying to protect your small business. All right, folks? So this is the end here. Let's have a quick recap of today's conversation. So what to do if you have a large client at risk for bankruptcy. You want to manage your accounts receivable. You want to get your account settled ASAP. Cultivate bonds with the right people in the company. Actively market yourself. Start communicating now. Conduct credit checks. Diversify early. Update your portfolio. Keep records of everything. Establish a plan. Nurture your sales and marketing funnels. Alter your payment terms. Before I actually leave today, I just want to give you a pro tip. You need to be aware, we've had a conversation around how to alter payment terms, how to diversify your clientele, how to constantly be on top of your sales funnels and marketing funnels. But you need to also be aware of your resources. Why? Because if you diversify and you want to put all your eggs, in different baskets, you need to be prepared to ramp down resources allocated to their clients. That I already talked about that, but you also need to make sure that you have enough resources to allocate to prospects. Right? So you always want to be mindful of any work in the pipeline for them, for the troubled clients, so that you can consolidate efforts in the event you're not paid. What I'm trying to say, for instance, is let's say you've hired part-time employees, or you have outsourced part of some work to contractors, and those contractors are linked to this large client. So if the large client goes down, chances are the whole contract for the part-timers and the subcontractors is going down too. But in the meantime, you want to reduce the amount of work they're doing because you're still paying them. But if the client who is the ultimate client is not financially stable, you might lose twice. All right. Another thing you want to do is, in terms of being aware of your resources, is that just have an honest conversation about the steps. You can have an honest conversation with the clients about the steps they're taking. You'll be surprised. Sometimes having a clear conversation can clear up a lot of stuff, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of confusion. All right. I will talk to you another time. Thank you. And until next time, stay fantastic.